Hi and welcome back, and it's time for another battle report. This video will feature my last preparation game before going to this year's Lincoln tournament, which actually is tomorrow in this moment that I'm recording this. In this game I'm up against Michel and his Vermin swarm. I didn't ask for a copy of his list, but from what I can remember it looked much like you see it here. For my list, I know I said in the last video that I wouldn't change much from the list I used that game, but nevertheless, there is a bunch of changes anyway. I dropped the Ravencloaks and a unit of Raiders in favor of a Kraken and a bunker of Legionnaires. I also changed the kit for the General once again, after some good suggestions from Michael in the comments on my last video. So since I've already finalized the list for the tournament at this moment, I can tell you it looks exactly like this, except for a handbow on my BSB, which I seem to have missed on this list. For spells, I rolled the Stars Align, Curse of the Westerlies, and Lightning Storm. He had a level 3 Shadow, who rolled Glimpse of the End, Mind Racer, and Devouring Darkness. He also had a level 2 Ruin, who rolled Crack the Earth and The Hunger. So, over to deploy, where he chose the side, and I deployed first. So, I've put a lot of thought into how I should choose to deploy my army, since I haven't been that good on that department. For this game I felt that I could use the terrain much to my benefit, as I could use the Impossible and one of the hills to block line of sight from any shooting he placed on his left. I decided to go all in on his right. My thoughts went along the line that he either would need to deploy straight in front of me, which was all good since I'm outranged anyway. His other choices was between splitting his army or giving me the opportunity to sneak up behind all the blocking terrain. He answered by deploying mostly in the middle, which was fine by me, since that meant that his rats on my right probably would be forced to take a detour around the forest, not to risk their steadfast, or remain a bit off, which would give me more time to deal with the rest. So from his top we have a unit of rats at arms, together with a level 3 and a rotary gun, I think they called, behind that unit. Next is the catapult, a unit of Plague Brotherhood with a prophet, the Naphtha Thrower, a second rat at arms block with the level 2. Then comes the second rotary gun, the Vermin guard with the general BSB and an engineer in it. Lastly, and unfortunately out of the picture, are his cannon and some Vermin hulks. On my side from the top are both raiders, the altar with the level 3 and bunker behind, spears with the BSB, then we have the Kraken, tower gods with general, and then the 2 hydras. For Vanguard I see an opportunity to get at his catapult very quickly, so I vanguard one unit towards the gap in his lines and the other to go around his flank. As I went first, I moved the raider units as planned, while the rest of my lines moves up some inches into his charge range, in case he wants to try a charge, which I hope he will fail. The Hydra furthest to the left moves up pretty aggressively against the Vermin hulks. In the magic phase he dispels Fireball and then uses Scroll when I get Lightning Storm off. So shooting only gets a wound through on his catapult and another one on the topmost rotary gun, I think it was. In his turn, his Hulks tries to charge on the Hydra, and I'm a bit nervous about how that will go. Actually, since the Hydra is too far from inspiring presence of my general. Next, he moves his lines up, and his weapon teams aims at my raiders. He fails to cast one of his spells, and I then dispel the other, so no good magic phase for him. His shooting isn't much better, as both the catapult and the cannon misses, and one rotary gun misfires and shoots at nothing, while the other one misfires and blows up. Only the naphtha thrower means business, and it kills 4 raiders. The last one panic and die stumbling over the rotary gun. Between the Hydra and the Hulks, I count myself lucky that it ended in a tie where he did 2 wounds to me and I did 3 to him. In my turn, the raiders have a choice between the rotary gun and the catapult. I need a 9 for the catapult, which is okay with Swiss stride, but I go for the safe bet and charge the rotary gun instead. I also choose to charge his plague unit with the spearman. I think it's hard to say if that was a smart choice, but even though they were buffed with an extra attack, I don't think I had the odds to beat his steadfast. In the movement phase, I position the free Hydra for a flank charge on the Vermin guard or a charge on the cannon. The tower guards and the Kraken moves up so that none of his units can get the Kraken, while the bunker slides to the left and the altar moves up for a charge if enough spearmen die. I have an awesome magic phase and get the hex off on the plague gang, making them reroll hits, and I then get the augment off on the spears, making them reroll to wound. And then I also get lightning storm, which does 1 wound to the naphtha thrower, kills some rats and some vermin guards. In the shooting phase, my oracle picks the last wound from the naphtha thrower. In combat, the raiders kills the last weapon team. The Hydra takes 2 more wounds, but give 4 back, and then runs down the last Hulk down. With help from my magic, the spearmen both win and also break the steadfast of the plague unit. Unfortunately, he passes his break test, which I think was on a 5 up, perhaps. In his turn, the regular rats flank charge the spearmen, and the vermin guard charge the tower guards. In his magic phase, I decide it's time to use the scroll, as he gets the boosted glimpse of the end of on my spearmen on a very high roll, nonetheless. So there is after that there is not much going on in the magic phase. Both his war machines misses their targets once again, so I'm a bit lucky on that department. The spearman beats the crap out of all the rats, and the plague gang decides to bolt this time. The other rats are still steadfast, they stick. The guard fight is an exciting one, and it starts off with my lord getting 3 wounds on his lord. His lord then saves 1 on his armor save, and then another one on the reroll. So, with Headsman's axe, I in the end didn't get enough to kill him, only 2 wounds. But since he made 2 armor saves, his putrid plate manages to do 2 wounds back on my general, which he then follows up and easily kills my prince. The tower guard, on the other hand, chops down rats left and right, so I win combat pretty easily anyway, but it's always a pity losing the general. It's my turn 3, and I think that except for the risk of really bad dice rolling, this game should be mine. My raiders charge his catapults so that a probable overrun will bring them into the fleeing plague gang. One of the hydras charged the cannon, and the kraken charged the flank of the rats at arms. I decide to buff the tower guards with an extra attack this turn with the altar. I think I got both the hex and the augment off in this turn, but I can't remember exactly which unit I put them on. So we start off the combat where I destroy his war machines and run down the plague gang. When the tower guards kill every last vermin guard and his characters break, there's not much fun left for him, so we call it. It's a massive win for at the top of turn 3, so I can't complain. The closest things to mistakes that I could identify and had time to make in this game was that the spearman combat was a bit too much of a gamble without the magic, and that I didn't have the Hydra close to the general. This time all went my way anyway, but another day it might not, and when you feel that you actually can make this work. The list finally feels all good, but it's too bad that I don't have enough insight in the lists out there that can cause me the most trouble, so well, I hope there will be enough space for me to put up the camera, but in worst case I will do my best to deliver photo reports instead. So see you soon with some Lincoln material.